The warehouse is open. Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 65. Caps collecting and hobby insights with Bert. Mr. Woods is back for a visit. Last time, Bert Woods, esteemed, established, respected collector, Capitals collector, confidant, and friend in this hobby, to many, I might add. He was with us in episode or volume 21. It's been 40-plus episodes. So we figured it was time to revisit. We got him in some Caps gear. We got the collection back. This is more of a video, but if you're listening to us, we appreciate you. It's more of a video production these days. Bert, before we play catch-up, actually, screw it. Let's play catch-up. What's been going on? How you been? Thanks for coming back inside the warehouse, my friend.
Things are going great, Scott. Excited for another season of hockey. Excited for, new alternates coming for the Capitals. Okay. I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
Yes, please.
And then, I'm just excited for another season of hockey. And I'm a hockey nerd. I'll watch. It doesn't have to be the Capitals. I'll watch, Rangers, Islanders, you name it. West Coast gets a little tough, but yeah, as long as it's on my time zone, I'm watching probably. So.
No, you, me, and a bunch of people I know. And again, I love the NFL. As we record this, the NHL preseason opened up this past weekend. And if I were to tell you that during my NFL viewing time, I was paying attention to the Capitals and the Boston Bruins, or Montreal and Pittsburgh, or Utah and Anaheim, I wouldn't be lying. Like, it's actually crept. And I know, my kids are like, Dad, turn the NFL back. Oh, wait, it's the Caps? Oh, Milano scored 2. Oh, like there's
4 points. Yeah.
Yes, we're a hockey household, and we love our other sports. Again, the NFL predominant, but around this time of year, maybe it's the novelty of it, Bert. But we're into the NHL preseason. Maybe we're crafting our fantasy rosters. I have no idea.
No, exactly the same thing. And, so that game was Sunday at 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was going up in this house against the Cowboys and Bears.
I went right to the Charger Bronco game, also on national TV.
Right. I went right to the Capitals. I wanted to see Lakovic and see if he was, a high round pick for the Capitals here recently. See if he, there was rumblings he might have a shot. I don't think he does. He's just too young. And there's only like 1 or 2 spots that are available for the team this year. So, but I just wanted to tune in. It was good to see Milano, get 4 points. And I think Lapierre had 3.
He was in the mix. Sure.
Right. My daughter goes to school in Philadelphia. She's actually going to the game Thursday in Hershey. Thursday in Hershey. So she's excited about that, and hoping that Ovi will be on the mend by then. I don't think so, but we'll see. But
no rush, right?
Yeah, they'll probably going to load it up with Hershey guys. The guys have come through and things like that. But she's excited. So yeah, we're a hockey house as well.
No, it's definitely a very, very fun time of the year. Before we look ahead and continue to look ahead as far as collecting, so Caps just came off their 50th, and everybody loved the patch. Let's do a little bit of rear viewing, if you will. What were your thoughts on just sort of the season as a whole, aside from, darn, it ended a little too early in the postseason?
Honestly, the prognosticators did not pick the Capitals to win the East at all. So the fact that they won the Metro and did as well as they did was actually a bonus. I'll be honest, I didn't think so either. The Rangers took a sharp turn down.
Mm-hmm.
And the Capitals did way above expectations. There was a lot of people that weren't high on the Dubois trade, and didn't think some of the additions were really going to amount to much. But of course, adding Chychrun, adding Dubois, a couple of pieces like Duhaime, the trade for Logan Thompson, all panned out. They really did. And I don't know how you can't help but build on that with players like Leonard coming in for a full season, and maybe 1 or 2 spots that are open for the young guys. So it's definitely, 50 was definitely an exciting season. Of course, in the jersey world, it was exciting because you had a patch, and then you wanted to scramble and try and get who you could, because I'm sure Maigrey's very happy that as soon as jerseys were put up, they were gone. So it didn't matter who it was. It could be a 4th liner, a 6th defenseman, 7th defenseman that were gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an exciting season as a fan. not only for the hockey team, but also for the fan of the game worn side of the Capitals as well.
Absolutely. So focusing on that collector side, and you are
Mhm.
talking to our friend Bert Woods, volume 65, Caps Collecting and Hobby Insights. It's Tales from the Warehouse. Thank you for downloading, listening, subscribing, watching, and putting us in your ears, as it were. Did you manage to pick up a couple, two, three, anything from the 50th from last year? And can you talk a little bit about the significance? And obviously, the significance was, as you just mentioned, 50th patch, memorable season, and obviously everything associated with the chase. Collectors ate this stuff up. Tell me about it from your perspective.
Well, I managed to pick up 13 from last year. I think that's the number. Uh, I still have 11, so I only moved like two. And for those that don't know me, at an expo, I'm trading galore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shell game of shirts, and when the dust settles, we'll see what I end up with. But I ended up with 13 last year, some through trade, some purchased through Migrate, of course. Um, and to be honest, I really wish the black had a 50th. I think we all do,
Mm-hmm.
patch on it. Uh, there may have been some reason why that wasn't available because of the Adidas Fanatics thing.
Fanatic swap over, sure.
Yeah, but it didn't really matter because it was still the 50th season and it was still a Fanatics black, which to me was different than a Adidas black. But that being said, you wanted to pick up your favorite guys. I picked up multiple Wilsons, multiple Dowds, the fan favorite guys. And then, of course, you're like, okay, well, a Duhaime would be nice. A Carlson would be nice. A Charlie Lindgren would be nice. A Jacob Chikrin would be nice. What about this guy? That looks like it has great wear. Why don't we grab that one too? So I ended up doing a lot of that. Probably more than I probably should have, but yeah, there's only 150th, so there's not going to be a 51st patch.
Right,
Okay,
right, right.
so if you look at the history of the teams that just had their 50th, the Flyers, Canucks, the Blues, you just don't see those on the open market, secondary market, and I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of these either. The collectors are going to that scoop them up, and you'll maybe see one or two drift out but for the most part I think the collectors are going to keep them. I don't really have any of mine available, so I think that's the way it's going to work out with those.
No, totally understandable. You mentioned, when you go to an expo, those who know you, and Bert is one of the most accessible, chattable, affable, approachable guys in the hobby. And I know we say that about a lot of people, but I'm a fan and a friend, but it's true. Sometimes you're like, I'm just not getting a good vibe. I'm going to have to push through and embrace the uncertainty of conversation. And if it
Yep.
doesn't work out between us, Bert's not that guy, ever, ever, ever. If you see Mr. Woods at an expo, go say hi. You may make a deal, but you mentioned going to the expos and sort of a shell game, and I bring stuff and I make deals. It's what I do. I like that aspect. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Did you order any of the 13 through pre-order, and talk to me a little bit about your pre-ordering experience with the Migrate friends and family?
Yeah, I think probably a dozen were for pre-order. Maybe one or two were via trade. And for the most part, I would just contact Dave um, and say, "Hey, Dave, if when this becomes available, keep me in touch." You know, I may not have been the first one, so then I would get the second set or something like that. Would be next in line.
Mm-hmm.
But there were definitely some situations where, um, for example, Charlie Lindgren got hurt, and I had the pre-order, so I swapped. But then I swapped back to it, so it's like even if you change your mind, the team of Migrate's been great for me to do that. I'm not as bad as others with that. Usually, I'm like, yeah, I'll stick with it. But I've heard others that go, I want to switch to that, switch to that, switch to that. And the poor guys in Migrate got to deal with all that. But um, yeah, I think I pre-ordered 12, and then it was just wait for them to come in. You know, and
And
and and the pre-order is great in that. Um, Unlike a lot of other teams where you got to wait to this last end of sale dump that they throw on our website, or you got to show up at their end of year garage sale, whatever. At least, if you order a set one, Tom Wilson, you can watch it. You know when it's going to end, and then you can see the wear and see he got in a fight with this guy, or he scored that goal, or whatever. And you can review the pictures on Getty and AP and all the places that have the resources for that. So it's always great to be able to do that. It's it definitely adds to the hobby for me, and I'm glad that the Capitals are a part of this.
Yes, and you mentioned, you sent an email into Dave, or Mr. Mizell, D. Mizell, DW Mizell at mygray.com. You can click on him, find him through the website, through mygray.com, sales at mygray.com. That's how you get on the request list. Columbus, Philly, Jersey, the Caps, Minnesota, Nashville. They do it for NBA teams as well. And they do it for other NHL teams because you never know what MyGray is going to get insight and in stock. Clippers, Charlotte, Lakers, Golden State. Ongoing, by the way, as we speak. NBA flash sale at mygray.com through the end of September, up to 60% off select NBA game-worn jerseys. Really cool stuff. Interesting players, popular players that is, easy for me to say. Kyle Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Gordon Hayward, many, many more. Check out the NBA flash sale ongoing now. But again, more importantly, like Bert told you, get on that request list. Sales at mygray.com is how it starts. When you go and look, you mentioned, you like your guys. You like guys that get dirty, as it were, whether it's a Duane, whether it's a Wilson, whether it's a Dowd. Is there ever a time when you experience a Bert Woods impulse and you're like, I really want that guy? It's like, I'm just going to
Oh
fire
yeah,
off an email.
yeah,
And if it works out, it works out.
yeah. I mean, well, on that, I mean, a lot of the pre-orders I had last year weren't Capitals. I had a Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wanted the Gaudreau patch. Um, so I wanted an Olivier. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, he led the league in fights last year.
Yes.
So I grabbed their beautiful Cannon alt. So I grabbed that with the 13 patch. So I pre-ordered that. As soon as MyGray announced that they had a partnership with the Minnesota Wild, I grabbed the Marcus Foligno just because the A on that jersey is the state, right? So it's just a beautiful shirt, and of course, he roughs it up a little bit. It just happened to be conveniently that he is that type of player. So yeah, as you can see behind me, I'm not just a Capitals guy. There's several teams I collect, but it's more that type of player, enforcer type. They're not as common anymore, but it's still you'll see a fight
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be like, okay, let me see if that jersey's still available on the website, and there it is, and you're like, okay, you know, add to cart, So
Right.
yeah, you know, I'm constantly checking the website, looking for new stuff, consignments, things like that. But yeah, like last year, I pre-ordered two others of. I don't think I did any. Oh, I did a Hathaway. I did a Hathaway Flyers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Another guy
just
who
because,
likes to get dirty, as we like to
right,
say.
right. So yeah, I needed a style. I think I needed the black style. I don't think he fought in it, but I love the Flyers oversized numbers on those. And it's just an interesting style. So, and of course, the player, with his past relationship with the Capitals is great. So yeah, I kind of hit the gamut and hit all the teams for in the Migrate portfolio as far as hockey goes.
There you go. Ring the doorbell at sales@mygray.com. You never know what's going to become available. Again, partnering up with the Jackets, the Flyers, the Devils, the Caps, the Wild, the Preds, and on the NBA side, the Clips, the Hornets, the Lakers, the Warriors. The NBA flash sale is going on right now. I'll ask you to play show and tell about that amazing closet behind you in just a couple of minutes, but just a couple more on the Caps. We mentioned last year being the 50th for the Capitals franchise and what a memorable season it was with the Ovechkin chase and the eventual tying on a Friday night against the Chicago Blackhawks and the breaking of the record of the Great One on a Sunday afternoon at the New York Islanders. And, collectors collectively biting their tongue and going, wait, this is the long established players set. You guys get to keep that. And in a way, I'm like, you know what? These are his teammates. Let them have those sweaters. Am I jealous? Do I covet that these guys got to keep their sweaters? And it was preset months in advance. Like that's, awesome. Awesome for the players. I know not a lot of them give a rat's eyelash about collecting, but for something like that, I think even the most non-collecting of collecting players would be like, hey man, this is pretty awesome. And it's our shirt. Good for them. But back to the Ovi thing, Bert, were you as confident and positive as most that it was going to happen last year? Do you think it might take a little longer? Or, and then there was the broken leg, which, if you ask you and me and others, perhaps we're like, I thought he was going to get a lot earlier than he did.
Right. I, I mean, going into the season, I don't think anybody expected him to get what 44 goals, right?
Hmm.
So I don't think anybody expected him to just keep going as much as he was. You're like, okay, 35, 30, and then maybe only needs a couple going into
This
this
year.
season.
Right.
Once he started off fast, and then when he had the injury against Utah, you're like, okay, well, next year it is. That was it. But then he just kept scoring, and he got another hat trick somewhere in there, and then it was just like, well, maybe he can do it. And then as he got close, he really didn't hesitate. It was like a goal a game, two against Chicago, and it was just he was like, okay, well, this is going to happen. So I feel great for Gretzky. You didn't have to follow him around for 2 months.
For too
So
long.
it was a week or something like that.
Yeah, this
But
wasn't the Maris family looking at McGuire and Sosa and like, what the heck is going on?
right,
Yes.
right, right. Well, I was following hockey in the early '90s, but I don't remember, like, I guess Gordy followed Wayne around for like a month as he was waiting to break his record. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I don't remember that, but I of course remember when he broke it. But I was
Sure.
just like, yeah, it was definitely like once you felt that wave coming, you knew it was like he's going to get it this year. And then after that, it was like, is he going to get 900 this year? Right. So it was like, wouldn't that be sweet? And how long is this team going to make a run for? You had the feeling that they weren't going to get past Carolina. Carolina didn't match up well against.
Hmm.
All year they didn't match up well against it. The depth that they had just really was tough. So, um, I'm just glad they beat Montreal and didn't have to deal with that. But
Right.
getting bounced in the first round. But yeah, I mean, of course now you're on goal 900 watch, right? And he's what? Yeah, you're going to have to refresh my memory. He's what, 30 away from 1,000 all time,
Something like
regular and
right.
playoff. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's coming. Um, so I mean, you got two significant milestones coming up.
Bert, do you think that if he posts, and again, a lot's been written, lots been said, he, upon returning to the States and heading into training camp, and they're like, so have you thought anymore? He's like, no, have you? And he's sort of being a little jocular, but also kind of like, just leave it alone. I just got here a couple days ago. Why don't we see where I am in September? He doesn't seem like the guy to do a retirement tour. I
Right.
think when it's enough, he'll be like, this has been great. Thank you. Goodbye. And then there was the stuff that came from a significant other that this past season was a drain on him. And it was a lot harder than many of you realize. After this, he will go to Russia. And I think that's it. There's been nothing like that since. There's been no comments. Again, let the family have and enjoy. If this is what's left, okay. But I'll ask you hypothetically, if he gets ever closer, you think he does stick around for 1,000 career goals, regular season or otherwise?
I don't necessarily think he sticks around for another season.
And
I
nor
think
do I.
I think uh, when his wife came out and said it's going to be his last year, he's always said he's wanted to play a season or two in Moscow Dynamo.
Mhm.
Um, the organization is giving paper tickets this year. Um, I don't think he wants to go out like say Kopitar, who just announced his retirement. He's going to have a tour.
Mhm.
I think he kind of wants to be like Fleury, okay, who y'all kind of had the thought this would be his last season, but
Right.
yeah, he never really said it, you know. And Fleury had that for a couple seasons. Like, okay, is this his last visit to Pittsburgh? Is this his last whatever? I think this is it. I think this, and he wants to at least have a season in the K, and I think he'll end up doing
It's Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 65. Talking to our friend Bert Woods, caps collecting and hobby insights with Mr. Woods. Pleasure to have him back in the warehouse. It's been 40-plus episodes. We got him all swagged up with a very, very cool-looking Capitals alt, which we'll get him to describe and play a little show and tell, as well as the overstuffed, God bless you, closet behind you. There are multiple racks off camera. Are there Ovechkin sweaters in the closet? Again, reveal what you want. Are there goal sweaters in the closet? Can you talk a little bit about the significance of those?
it. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. I try to keep a little bit of my collection close to the vest, but I have three Ovechkins. One is just a one gamer. It's just a red. There's nothing spectacular about it. It's good trade bait when you go to an expo, right?
Movie
You
worn.
know,
That's what makes it
right,
special.
right, right.
Yes.
And it's photo matched. And so
Sure.
if I were to go to George's or Francis's expo
Yep.
or
South Jersey, Northern
or
Virginia,
my
St.
gray,
Louis, Los Angeles, my gray. Expos
right,
popping up all over the place.
right.
Europe, of course.
I'll be going
Yeah.
to Chicago in November.
Chicago coming soon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great trade bait. I mean, who knows? Maybe I could a couple nice shirts and a couple bucks here to pay for the trip. That kind of stuff. That's always great. I do have his rookie shirt, um,
That's
from
the story.
0506.
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh, the white, the eagle. I do have also his cup year shirt. Um, and for Caps guys, that means a lot because they haven't won any other cups. They haven't really even gotten close since. Yeah, and I've tried to get every player on the cup from that season.
Mhm.
And that season shirt. So I'm only two away. But I'm a patient guy. I'm not gonna, knock down people's doors to get the last two. I know where a couple reside. When they become available, they'll become available. But getting the Ovechkin for that
Do
was.
you believe, by the way, Bert, this is actually an interesting sort of sidebar conversation. Do you
Mhm.
believe in cup year premium, A, for the Caps, B, no matter the franchise? If player won a cup during that year, it deserves to be priced, plus X percent? Or is it just, hey, that's a little more valuable to the personal collection because this was worn during a Stanley Cup season?
Well, I think there is a little bit of a premium. I
Mhm.
think the Capitals are a little bit of an anomaly there, though, in that they have a little bit more of a premium. Like you'll see guys that aren't necessarily big names on that team. You think that team Holtby, Oshie, Ovechkin, Carlson,
Right.
Kuznetsov, Backstrom.
Talk to me about Kristen Juice.
Right, right, right.
Right.
I mean, Christian Juice, if you were looking to move it on the secondary, you'd have a hard time getting a couple $100. But
Mhm.
now with the premium of it being a cup year, you do have that availability of getting a little bit of a boost out of it. And of course, they had the Centennial patch for the first half of the
Yes.
season, so that adds a little bit to it as well. So I just based on my observation, I do think like I don't see a huge secondary market bump for Tampa Bay's, for
Mhm.
example. I just don't see it. A Sorelli goes for a Sorelli price. It's nice, but I don't see like 25 or 50% higher than what a normal Sorelli would be. I'm just picking on him because it's the
Yeah,
first one that popped in my
of
head. But
course.
um, I think some teams that have maybe not put out as many shirts from those years, like Chicago does have a premium. But I've had Kings Cup year from the mid to 2010s, no premium. Yeah,
Understood.
yeah,
All right, so back
yeah.
to Ovi for a second. You've
Mhm.
you know you've been lucky enough to garner a couple. You mentioned a rookie season. You mentioned a cup year. Talk to me about sort of the collector meaning of Ovi/Ovi with a goal.
I mean, when you're talking 897 goals, okay, every one of those goals had to get to that point. So, even if it was goal 216, it has some significance to get us to where it is now. So, if you think about it, every goal from now on is the record.
Right.
You don't know if a Utah moment's going to come again. So, you know, they all add up. So, for a collector, one of the first things people ask is, does it have a goal in it? What are the goals? Oh yeah, power play this, power play that, or
Playoff.
empty net. Yeah. It doesn't even matter anymore. As long as he scored in it, that's what matters. Where, of course, if you collect enforcers, there's not going to be many goals, and frankly, we don't care if there's any goals in it. Yeah, yeah.
I
You know,
hear you.
say,
Take me through what's going on behind, and we'll get back to some Capitals, and I want to get your opinion on the new Screagle and a bunch of other stuff. But
right.
you want to play show and tell? Obviously, you've got a sizable collection. Again, those of us, as you mentioned, and I've always respected this about you and about other collectors, and I also respect other collectors who bring everything and share. It's like there's no wrong answer in this hobby. You do you, you enjoy, and thank you from me for sharing whatever it is you want to share. you mentioned you're the type of guy who also likes to keep, when you go to a show, you don't feel it necessary to bring 100% of your inventory. You bring some shirts that you find interesting at that time. All good. And so that's fantastic. I have a modest collection, so I usually bring most, if not all, because it's easy to fit on a rack and show it, and then it goes right back in the closet. Um, through the years, you've been blessed and lucky enough to obtain a decent amount. Anything stick out through the years? Do you have anything by your side? What you wearing today? I feel like you're walking the runway. Bert, what are you wearing to this?
Well, today it's well, in honor, I assume we're going to talk about the new alternate. I decided to wear one of the older alternates. This is an Oshi, from 15, 16, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, 15, 16. So yeah, I just felt like wearing an alternate with an A. But I mean, as far as my collection, it's always been like, okay, that kind of is interesting. Like I did outdoor stuff. I did oh, I like that style. The reverse retros were of course fantastic, so oh, that's really interesting. It was a lot of shiny object, well, that's cool. I like that. Of course, that's a name guy. That's cool.
Right. I'm a
Um
collecting squirrel. Squirrel.
yeah. Well, especially that's how it starts, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, you probably started collecting before I did. I started collecting around 2000.
It's an age joke. I know what that is.
Um,
If the
but
king fits.
at first it's like, oh, I remember that guy playing. I remember this guy playing. And you just kind of pick up what you can. It was obviously different then, but you picked up what you could, and okay, I like that. I like that. I don't remember this guy. And then next thing you know, you kind of go, okay, do I really need that one? Do I really need that one? So when I go to shows, I may bring a couple that's more for display, but pretty much most of it's available in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's, oh, show me what traders you got, show me your PayPal, that kind of stuff. Usually at this point, it's kind of funding itself, put it that way.
Hmm.
So that's where I want to be.
No, of course. And again, keep it light, keep it fun. There's a more serious topic that I want to get to in a little bit. Since you're wearing the Caps alt, Caps debuted a little bit ago, not yet on the ice. I think the first one comes up against Minnesota sometime in October, if I can remember the calendar properly.
Mhm.
It's the new Screagle. And the reviews from the fan base have ranged from everything from I love it. Take my money. Hey, MyGray, request, sales at mygray.com. I'll take a goalie. I'll take a this. I'll take a that. I love them to, it's not really for me. It looks like this or this or this. I mean, you can find the comments. They're available everywhere. What are your
Right.
thoughts? And are you planning on picking one up or more?
I definitely plan on picking up a couple, I would say.
Hmm.
Of course, the schedule had 15 or so games.
Right.
So you figure there's a couple sets in there. So I may set here, set there, kind of space out how much I'm spending my money throughout the year.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll pick up probably three, knowing me. Uh, Now, as far as the style goes, uh, on multi levels, I love it. Okay, one, it retains the allure and significance of the red Screagle and the black Screagle, in that, those are still going to have their place in the hobby because, that was it. Okay. Now we have this new one. We're not wearing the black one. We're not wearing the red one anymore. And I love it because that retains the values of the red ones and it retains the value of the black ones. And that might be, again, a Fanatics Adidas thing. Now, my question is, okay, if this is Ovi's last year, is this red alt going to be the regular season one?
Hmm.
I don't know. Do they come out with a white version next year? You know,
Right.
that's great speculation. But of course, this is the first year that alt. It's always nice to have that. Yeah, I definitely plan on picking up three of them. Now, I know the criticism is typically, oh, well, it's not this, it's not that. Um, you get the old school guys that like the sewn, n- every letter on the nameplate or crest. Yeah, I get it. And it does look a little bit like Columbus's reverse retro red one, but I don't know. I'm a big fan. I love the white yoke on it.
Hmm.
I think that's great. Um, I love the little nod to DC. on the back hem.
Yep.
Uh,
The DC flag.
right.
Very cool. That I think
Yeah.
that's close to my favorite part of the sweater. It's growing on me, and I'm on the request list. Sales at mygray.com, just like everybody else.
And Scott, I was convinced they would never use that. I- And I would, there was another collector I've talked to about, I was like, I don't think they'll ever use it. It just, they're just the ownership, and they were talking about moving to Virginia, and then
I think you're exactly right. I didn't think they were going to use something like that. I mean, the closest they got to a nod to DC was an historic one with the L'Enfant maps on the back of the stadium series that they used for the outdoor game that they played against the Leafs at Annapolis at Navy Marine Corps Stadium, and that was,
Mhm.
you can go read chapter and verse about the dots and the map and the way they built the numbers, and it's very, very cool, and it's a really neat idea. To see the DC flag, I think that's more of, we love you, we're having the arena refurbished, we've struck a deal, and now we're really DC. We've always been Washington, but we've been Landover, and we've practiced in Piney Orchard out by where BWI is, and now we practice in Ballston, and we're in the city, but for how long? I agree with you. I think this is more of an affirmation patch.
Yeah. I honestly uh, was disappointed in the past that I mean, Washington, I grew up in the area. I don't live there directly anymore, but they really didn't use a lot of the iconic, monuments and elements of the city in the past. They really
Mhm.
haven't. So I love the little nod to on the hem. Um, so
Yeah, no, and we saw, like, in the 15 Winter Classic, we saw a monument nod, and we've seen the Capitol, but there are so many other things, and we've seen the Capitol, obviously, with the Black Dome. I mean, there's here you go. So let me fast forward to the
we've gone
next.
down the rabbit hole.
Yes, but this is okay. And it's Tales from the Warehouse. It's volume 65. We're talking caps collecting and hobby insights with our friend Bert Woods. Sales at mygray.com is how you get on the request list. You know about the partner teams. There are other teams, and they get stuff in all of the time. Do as I say, not as I do. Actually, do as I do. Click on NHL and click on newest, and you see all these new things float in. And if you've requested a Sidney Crosby, Washington Capitals, and somehow, some way he makes his way. I know that's the example we always use. You never know. Hey, I did request that at one point in time. At any rate, have you noticed any shifts, if you will, in Capitals game worn collecting? And I know that there's a vibrant community on Facebook. There are communities elsewhere. You follow eBay, you follow what comes in and out on mygray.com and other websites and other platforms. It seems like red, white, and blue, the original, never goes out of style. People always clamor for the blue and the white 97, 98-ish, 98-ish, that Screagle. The Black Dome has its lovers and its haters. Have you seen anything sort of gaining in steam or popularity recently? Or because the Screagle RR comes back, people are like, oh yeah, has anybody got any 98 blues? I'm looking for this guy or this guy.
Right, right.
What have you seen? What have you noticed?
Well, I mean, there's always a, a demand for the blue eagle. I mean that
Hmm.
it existed for what, 4 or 5 seasons. So um, yeah, so it's limited, and of course, going back, the that was pre-migrate, so you had to get it through, alternative avenues,
Methods. Right.
right? Um, that being said, I do think this style has actually done really well, like maintaining its value. The white version of this as well. Especially the name guys, Baxter, Moshe, of course, Ovechkin,
Sure.
Wilson, Carlson, and the guys that, are even fan favorites, even like a Brooks Like, or,
Hmm.
things like that. They've always done a Chimera, the guys that, may not have been around for the cup year, but, are also very popular when they were in Washington. Now, I think even the black, even if it's not Adidas, if it's the reverse or the alternate year, uh, the collectors love those, irregardless of who the player is.
Hmm.
It could be a French guy, and those still go pretty well. I mean, and they're so heavy. The black ones are real heavy
Chainmail,
shirt.
I like to say.
Yeah, yeah, and like yeah. So they definitely will keep you warm and walking down six six and the F there. So it's like as the wind kind of funnels you into the
Right.
arena. So it's like um yeah. So they're really heavy shirts. So that's nice. Um, yeah, that. But of course, the old red, white, and blues, the 70s, 80s, 90s, always retain their value. And there's always people to get the name guys that maybe they weren't following the team then, but they see the names. They hear players like Lachlan talk about it, and Alan May talk about I play with this guy, I play with that guy, or Ken
Sure.
Saber on the radio. So you'll hear like a lot of that, and of course there's all interest for those type of players.
Definitely so. Go find all the Gary Risslings and Al Hankslabens and
I got a Hank Slavin in here. Yeah, yeah.
there you go, and the Paul Mulveys, and there's a lot of fun, and that you talk about a rabbit hole. So at some point, collectors, and again, you and I have had discussions off air and in private message, and I hope I'm not talking out of school, but we always talk about, we've got our core that we would like to keep, but then you sort of get into, I love this hobby. I'm still active in this hobby, but maybe it's time to lighten the load a little bit. Tell me a little bit about just, are you approaching a sort of a mindset of trimming down the collection? And, when you downsize, it is, you know, it, you're not going to go seek legal counsel. You may go call some other trusted friends in the hobby. How do I do it? Do I do it on my own terms where I'm like, you know what? I don't need these, but I'd like to maybe downsize into one piece. Or there's so many ways to do it, Bert, too. Again, no real wrong answer when downsizing. You do have to choose a comfortable route, but you also want to keep the core and your own integrity inside of your vault portion of your collection.
Right. So at one point, Scott, I was about at 1,000 shirts down here.
Mhm.
I mean, I have that rack behind me full. There's 4 racks down that way that would be completely full. There was no space to put anything in there. And then I probably had another couple hundred in bins. And then I think at that point was probably right around COVID. Okay.
Mhm.
So you get to the point where you go, do I need all this? Why don't I try and pare this down a little bit to maybe not have so many, but still maintain a quality of collection. And I've been able to do that. Really not at a hair's pace, but basically, here, there. Maybe I'll trade a couple for this. Maybe I'll move a couple there to fund something else. Um, Still maintaining the quality of the collection, but not necessarily having the quantity of the collection.
Mhm.
Um, and that's kind of where I've been. And but of course, as you get, I'm in my 50s, as you are.
As
You
I
kind of
am,
think
sure.
the priorities change a little bit. Like, okay, um, I'm I have a daughter in college. I have another one about to go to college. So it's like, okay, I got to pay for that too, and really, uh, what would I rather, spend that money on, their tuition so they don't come out really high in debt, or do I need an Ovechkin? The scale kind of tips a lot in one way there. So, that kind of also, led me to kind of, okay, let's pare it down, but let's maintain the quality. And actually, the quality is probably better than what it was several years ago. But the quantity's not there. I didn't have those 2 Ovechkins we mentioned earlier. At that point, I had a couple, but they weren't the rookie one. They weren't the
Right.
cup year one. So it was more of, okay, why don't I improve the? I picked up a Scott Stevens Devils. It's just a tough shirt to get.
Mhm.
Gordie Howe. I never in my million years that I thought I would own a Gordie Howe or a Wayne Gretzky. So that's how I was, with the help of a couple collectors and maybe moving a piece here and there, that thinking, okay, do I need 32 Brendan Woods? I mean, do I? I mean, was
It's a fair
29
question.
okay? Is 29 okay? All right. Do I need, I think I had like 8 Oshis, you know, in the secondary market. Yeah, you could trade or sell an Oshie real quick, like
Hmm.
immediately if you wanted. So I was like, okay, why don't I keep the six best ones? It's just like it didn't. I don't need six Oshies even, but it's still like okay, I'll keep his blues one. I'll keep the red alt. I have a cup year one. I have actually two cup year ones of him. So it's like yeah, so you try to you go and look at it at a certain way. The one thing I tried not to do is put them all out there at once,
Hmm.
um, because then you've kind of overloaded the market on yourself. If I were to list 32 Brendan Wood jerseys, I wouldn't get, hardly any of them. But if you kind of do it like
Yeah,
siphon
you
it
would
out a little
crash your
bit,
own market. Oh,
right,
wow, supply and demand. He's supplying the entire demand.
right, right, right,
Why would I negotiate with this guy when he's negotiating against himself simply
correct.
by all of the volume?
And I get life happens. Life has happened for me in a previous life where I had to move, a Berdure, a Sundin. I had some really nice stuff. Um, I weathered that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's just my advice if you can, you know.
So a little bit more advice from Mr. Woods as we continue with volume 65, Tales from the Warehouse, talking caps and hobby insights. And the hobby insights are super important today. And thanks for coming aboard and downloading and watching. How much, how little do you let the emotional attachment to the sweaters affect your decision making? And again, there are some, and again, there's no wrong answer. You can say, I love this sweater. It means the world to me because of dot, dot, dot. It may affect you letting go or holding on. Or you may say from the beginning, I can love my family. I can love my friends. I cannot love sweaters. Like that's got to be, some people approach it like that. How's your temperament been with regard to that?
Um, well, I mean, there's definitely like uh when I met my wife, I actually met my wife after a Caps game, my
Hmm.
current wife. So I did not I think I had just bought a jersey off eBay or Migrate. I'm not sure. And it showed up in the mail and I put it on as I went out the door. Okay. So that's what I wore to that game. Had nothing to do with the Caps, had nothing to do with the team they were playing. It's just what I wore. It was a
Hmm.
Springfield Falcons jersey. Absolutely, but I wore that and
Player we
then
know or not know?
uh yeah, Tom Sestito. So
Sure.
yeah,
Got around, played in
got around
Montreal, Pittsburgh, Vancouver, I think in Montreal.
Flyers as
Flyers,
well. Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Was he
So
Montreal?
I don't think
Maybe.
he's in Vancouver and Flyers for
Vancouver and
sure,
Flyers, Pittsburgh.
and a little bit in Pittsburgh. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I mean that shirt's worth $150, but I can't get rid of it.
That's that's
I don't
that's
even know if I'm allowed to get rid of it.
right. That's on
So
the day we met. That's what you were
right,
wearing.
right. So there's that, but there's also like I know people that like to collect shirts of games they went to,
Mhm.
or they went with their spouse or their
Kid,
kids. Yeah,
father,
yeah.
mother. Yeah, there's family attachment. It is a hobby of connection. We long established, and I totally get it and respect it.
Well, I mean, the recommendation is always collect something you love, collect something
Right.
that you're proud of, like that. And I know I've told stories of shirts that I've had that probably bored people to death, but it's always great when, oh yeah, and this, and I had the Ovechkin from the Bin Laden game. Now, people outside of the Washington community don't even know what that is, so you have to tell this real long story to explain
Hmm.
it. But when you do, and then you show pictures of the cameraman wearing a Ovechkin jersey, it makes a little more sense. Okay, and then you go, okay, that does have a little bit of a cool story to it. So those kind of things. Yeah, there's of course sentimental value. There's of course some like I'll have the PJ Stock fight jersey from Stephen Pete. That one's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. That one's when that one goes, I'm pretty much done with collecting. It's about time to sit on a beach at that point. So it's
Right.
like yeah. But yeah, I was there watching that game or watching that game on TV. It was a day game, and I never thought in a million years I'd own that shirt.
Hmm.
And so when it became available, it wasn't communicated to me that it was that shirt when I matched it to that event. It's like you were waiting for the confetti to come flying out. It was like just photo matching a shirt that you weren't expecting to be matched to that event is fantastic. So Yeah.
Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 65. Caps Collecting Hobby Insights with our friend Bert Woods, back for a return visit, and this has been a great one. We've only seen one preseason game so far for the beloved Washington Capitals. Um, I'm not even going to ask you for an instant vibe, but where's the excitement level for what may or may not happen long term? If you ask a lot of the locals, they perhaps were not as active in making the team better, like with what they needed, with what we saw they needed, and they needed Ferravari to be healthy. That's probably first and foremost because
Yeah.
when he went out, their defense looked a lot different, and the matchup was terrible against Carolina. What Florida did to Carolina was 8 levels worse than what Carolina did to Washington. And
Right.
so I'm like, did you guys get better? They got more mature. They got stronger. Kids, kids need to start to step up because we are now with Backstrom and Oshie off and out, and Ovi perhaps halfway out. We don't know. It's definitely the dawning of a new era when it comes to Washington, but it's still pretty good roster. The goaltending still pretty good. The defense hasn't changed much, and we hope that it continues to get healthier and be not be better and just stay consistent because at times there were a little squirrely times, but I have no issue with 79 and 48 backstopping this team for the current and foreseeable future. What's your vibe on prognosis?
Well, on the goaltending, yeah, I mean, that's a 1A, 1B situation. Guys aren't doing Grant Fuhrer years under Mike Keenan anymore, where they
Mhm.
play 80 games or
Right.
what was it, 79 consecutive games? That included back to
Or,
backs. I
or
mean,
even what we saw Holtby do here a decade ago or whatever it was.
right,
Like
when you had the
you don't,
48 one season, right, right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah. Those days are pretty much over, understandably. Okay, it's just the wear and tear that those guys take. I mean, that being said, I think uh, the Caps were hoping for like an Ehlers.
Mhm.
Um, but honestly, looking at the deal that he got, I'm okay with them not getting Ehlers. So, um, so that leaves them uh, a little bit of cap room, not a ton, for what could be a run at the end of the year. Do they need another defenseman? An 80 game season going into 84 next year.
Right.
That's you're going to need 7, 8 defensemen. You're going to need 14 forwards. You're probably going to need a third goalie. Whether that's Clay or whoever coming up. So it's nice to have depth. And the one thing that 17-18 team had was health. No one got really hurt. I mean, what Baxter broke a finger in the Pittsburgh series, right? Um, and then you'd see a picture where it looked like the size of his entire hand or something
Mhm.
like that. That team stayed healthy, and there's that's just luck. That really is luck. So you're going to need all those guys. When Ferravari went down last year, late in the year, you were hoping that whether it's Alexiev or McElrath would step in. Um, yeah, you want a little bit more depth, and I see that they did the trade to get the defenseman there. They traded for the forward and from Florida.
Right.
The hoping to
Sort of
build on that,
home. Yes.
right, to build on that depth. Um, so the vibe right now is okay. You're hoping that Leonard looks like they're kind of going to try and move him into the top 6 to start off with.
Mhm.
Um, you're hoping also that like maybe somebody like Milano will come back, and I think he's got 1 year left on his deal. I don't have Puckpedia up right now to check, but yeah, I think it's 1 year. And then of course there is the big next year.
Right.
What happens next year? Even if he does stay, he signs a 1 year deal or whatever, that's great. But then you have, what if he doesn't stay?
Right.
You know, that's a massive hole to fill, not only in the hobby, in
Sure.
general,
Your locker room.
but in your locker room, right, right.
Right. You're
And then
talking
then is
about
then is
an
it Tom
ambassador in
Wilson's
the
team,
game.
right? Then it
Exactly.
right. Um,
Because also the guy that I didn't even mention, is John Carlson too. What does you're going to have to. it's this year is for the McMichaels of the world, for LaPierre. You're gonna Miroshnichenko. If for some of those guys, I'm not pushing them too far, but they need to continue to progress. And what
Right.
you saw from McMichael was really, really good at times. And that
Yeah.
was the jump year. You need
Yeah.
to see others have that sort of jump year
Right.
where you are warranted of the hype and the draft position and all the things that come with,
Right. Right. Well, I mean, Protus is another example. Like you weren't
immense,
expecting
massive.
that season out of Protus. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he started the season literally on the fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
And then, got himself into the third and he had no power play time, none, zero. But he was just a dog on the puck. We had a
Big
bunch of
young man.
shorthanded goals, right?
Right.
So, I mean, he just didn't lose puck battles, which is, not something you teach. It's something you do, yeah, I mean, I think the big thing this year is not to look too far into the horizon. Um, because remember in 17-18, the previous year they lost Johansson, they lost Alsner, they lost Nate Schmidt,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and Kuznetsov. I think won his arbitration. Thus, they couldn't re-sign Johansson after his arbitration. They had to trade him. So it was like, oh, this team's going to be terrible. They lose three guys. We sign these guys. I mean, what's Brett Conley going to do? What's Devontae
Right.
Smith-Pelly going to do? And now they're legends, right?
Right.
Because they had the seasons they had. It was like, oh, well, we got to play Christian Jews, but it was
Worked out.
a fantastic piece for that team. So your expectations in the preseason are often mitigated as you get through, and you get through game two of the Columbus series. It was even worse. It was like, oh, we got to get rid of Holtby.
Exactly.
This guy can't win games. You got to get rid of Grubauer. This guy can't. Where's Ovechkin? He's not scoring in the playoffs. Trotz has got to go. Da, 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 da.
Right.
Next thing you know, there's a parade down Constitution.
Sky's falling. Nope, we're winning a cup. Before we get to overtime, a quick reminder, get on the request list, sales@mygray.com, whether it's the Capitals or the Devs or the Flyers or the Jackets or the Wild or the Preds or any NHL team or NBA teams, including partner clubs like Clippers, Hornets, Lakers, Golden State Warriors. Speaking of the NBA, there is a flash sale ongoing till the end of the month. Do check it out. Up to 60% off of select NBA game-worn jerseys. Check the availability. There were names like Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Gordon Hayward, and many, many more available. MyGrade.com, sales@mygray.com for the request list. Bert, let's do a little bit of overtime touch of. We mentioned to start the podcast, we're watching some NHL preseason these days. We're still watching our NFL. We're watching other stuff. But on the weekends, what's it like fall at the Woods house? When I reached out to talk about getting you back on for Inside the, Tales from the Warehouse, inside of the warehouse, you said, I'm doing a little Friday Night Lights. Tell me about that experience as a proud dad these days.
Yeah, so I have two daughters that are 4 years apart. One's in college doing marching band.
Mm-hmm.
And a plug to Temple University. They're going to be at Macy's this year. They're doing the Macy's Day
Awesome.
Thanksgiving parade. So, I go to every home game for that. It's, the tailgate, Temple isn't a Power Five SEC
It's a
school,
marching
but
band power. That's all.
it's still fun. They're playing in the link, right?
Right.
So, you get, you get the big stadium feel, and it's, they're having a decent season, so that's fun. That's always on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
My other daughter is a cheerleader in high school, so of course I go to every Friday game, whether
Right.
that could be Friday night, that could be Saturday afternoon, because not every high school has lights. So that's my weekends from now until mid-November. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I absolutely love it. And it's definitely you can watch Sunday football and then you watch Saturday football and you see the difference, right?
Right, of
Then you
course.
go to Friday football, it's a real difference. So it's like, but I'm just there, grab me a couple Chick-fil-A sandwiches and maybe sneak in some Skittles in my pocket or something, and just and just sit there and enjoy. And it's really worth it. to have your kids just look up and just smile at you. I mean, that's all I need.
That's it.
They could lose 30-0. I don't care.
You just
I
yeah,
just want that little moment, that connection that we have. Um, and that's what weekends look like. And of course, I try to do it and let my poor wife have a weekend occasionally too. Unfortunately, I'm not going to George's Expo in South Jersey this
sure,
weekend
sure.
to let her have a weekend because I dictate every weekend on what they're doing. But in 2 years that could be over. You
Right,
know, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do Friday night?
right. Yeah, and I'm in
What
the
am I going to do
middle of
Saturday afternoon? I didn't have the yeah.
and I'm in the middle of varsity soccer season right now, and I'm doing public address for as many as they will have me. And I love being in the booth, and I love reading the rosters for the visiting team and for the home team, and I love saying goal for my kid's school, and I love saying at the half, here's the score, and I love reading the announcement that says, we've got half price pizza up for the final
So,
couple of
so
minutes.
Scott, do you have a catch for a corner kick? Like, oh, we got to. Do you have
Yeah.
one?
No, I
Oh,
don't.
come
I
on! You gotta have a
don't.
catch. You
I
gotta.
you know, I don't wanna get in the way of their playing. I don't wanna be the guy and again, God bless, by the way, because 'cause I've been to plenty of football and soccer games where there's kids are like, "And it's a so and so corner kick." Here's my signature, Bert, just because you asked for it. I'll say, "Once again, your final score, Wooten High School 2, Whitman 1. Please drive home safely." That's it. I give you a pause
Or
and
or
then
have your parents drive home safely.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my signature line. I don't want to be like, "Hey, we gotta go." I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
I'm
In the
not
high
gonna
school, it's like
buffer it.
every first down is like, and then people with the duck calls and stuff. Just
Not my personality. For those who do it, you are so good at it, and there are plenty of kids who volunteer for those gigs, and they are having the time of their life. I don't want to be,
they're rock stars. Yeah,
we,
they're
we
rock
we
stars.
have
Yeah.
we have kids. I don't want my kid to ever come up to me after the game and go, "Dad, really good job. You are cringy." I don't want to
Oh,
be
I mean,
cringe.
the younger daughter also plays lacrosse,
Hmm.
and lacrosse is in the spring, so it could be
Sure.
40 degrees, it could be 80 degrees. This is the Mid Atlantic, so
And the young ladies are out there with their Jacques Plant pretzel masks.
right, right, right. So, like one of the days was an 80-degree day. I'm a little fair skinned, I had a bucket hat on, right?
Sure.
And she scored 2 goals. She had a great game. She was a tweener, varsity and JV, and I'm she comes up to me and she goes, "Will you take that stupid bucket hat off?" And I'm like, she had just had a great game, and I'm like, "You're worried about my Montreal Expos bucket hat? Come on."
Oh, just
And I'm like
beautiful.
one of 20 people at this, and I'm like, "Oh, I was hoping for a hug or, you
Right.
know, will you take that stupid bucket hat off?"
There it is. There it
As
is.
long as I'm alive, I'm not going to let her live that one down. So,
The things
uh,
we do and the
yeah,
things we're subject to, but like you said, just to be I don't care if I get away. I don't want to wave. I don't want to nod. I want you to focus on the game and I want you to play well and I want you to enjoy it. And I want you to have fun. After
yeah,
the game, give me a fist, give me a hug. I'll take a sweaty hug. I don't care. It's
yeah.
my pleasure to be out there, just like I know it is yours to catch the Friday night, Friday afternoon, Saturday night lights for as long
Thursday
as we
nights,
can,
we've done
Thursday
Thursday
nights
nights.
for as long as we can embrace them. My
Yeah.
friend, this was so much fun. Thank you for the insight. Thanks for playing show and tell, and thanks for coming inside the warehouse.
Thank you, Scott.
Of course. That's Bert Woods. Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 65, sales at mygrade.com. Check it out. Get on their request list. The flash sale, NBA at mygrade.com, right now until September the 30th. For Bert, I'm Scott. The warehouse is closed.